I've spoken to so many people over the years and shared stories of how we've coped or not with or following diagnosis of MRKH. And I just wanted to share some of my experiences and maybe some tips I've learned along the way in the last 20 years. It's not easy. There's no right way, there's no right thing that's going to make you feel better. But it's finding those things that do, that, believe me, make the world of difference when you get to that point. I always thought I was coping. I don't think I really got to the realization that I probably wasn't until early into my 20s, where I realized that I was being quite destructive with a lot of my behavior in terms of just the way I was going out late, I was drinking a lot, I was just not really looking after myself. And it was all part of trying to block out how I felt, or just not wanting to deal with things. And I think back to when I was 17, 18, newly diagnosed, and I spoke to some people about it, kept it, I was relatively open with the people close to me. I didn't hide it away, but I also didn't really know how to talk about it. And I found that by sharing some of my experiences with them, I felt some relief, but it was more just keeping it really buried down inside that made me feel better, or I always thought it did. But of course, ultimately, that doesn't work. But I do remember that I got to a point where I found some solace in drinking, or at least I thought I did. And I remember a time when my mum found a half-drunk bottle of vodka in my wardrobe, which she often still reminds me of now. But and we can laugh about it a little bit. But it was, back then it was something I had to kind of answer for. Like I was using that as a way to try and manage how I was feeling. I didn't really understand all of this very grown-up stuff that seemed to be happening, that I didn't really know how I should feel and how I should cope. And it was kind of after that point that I started to think about, I should go and see a counsellor. And I have done that, and I've done that at several parts of my journey, and I really have felt so much benefit from doing that. Again, it's not just a one-off thing, and I would highly recommend speaking to someone. But I would say, certainly after I'd got to my 20s, by starting to go to support groups and to meet other people, that started to make me feel like, actually, I'm not alone in this. It didn't necessarily make me feel like I was coping too much at that stage, but I knew I wasn't the only one feeling these things, and that did help. But really, it was when I got to my 30s that I had a change in my life, and really knew that this was the light bulb moment, that epiphany moment, that I knew I needed to make some changes for the positive, and actually do focus on me for a bit, and focus on how I can improve how I feel and what I wanted in life. And that's where I found some different tools that I want to share with you that have helped me cope with diagnosis. Probably the most important thing for me I've found to process MRKH is to write. I started a blog 7 years ago, and not realising the impact it would have on me. It was started almost as a bit of fun, but I found it such a cathartic relief to write down my thoughts and feelings on everything related to MRKH. I also found mindfulness extremely helpful, and this book I used in combination with some counselling at the time. I learned about mindfulness, and by using some of its practices, I started to recognise the cycles I could get into, which didn't allow me to process how I felt. And it's really helped me to give me a new perspective, and I find it a great tool to use now, whether for MRKH or if I'm just having a bad day and need to take some time out. I love to walk or hike and clear my head by getting out, whether it's just around the neighbourhood or across the hills and mountains where I live. When I was a kid, I had to pretty much be dragged outside to get fresh air, but now I can't get enough of it. And running. I never thought I would say this, but I love running. I love it as a way to de-stress after a long day or just as a way to get out and explore. I've challenged myself to a number of half marathons along the way and combined those with ultra events and other challenges such as long distance cycles. I love having a fitness goal to work towards and push me to my limits. Importantly, I have a pretty epic and supportive and a little crazy family and fantastic friends that I love to spend time with whenever I can. And last but by no means least, peer support has been essential to me over the years. This community is incredible, and I'm thankful to be part of such a brave warrior community who are there to support and rally around each other regardless. Those shared experiences really are so important and really highlights how much we are not alone. My coping mechanisms have changed over the years as I have changed and my needs have changed, but they have always focused on the things that I enjoy or get positive, happy vibes from. Or sometimes it's something I've been challenged to do. Mostly it's something that makes me feel good whilst not blocking things out in the way I used to. Instead, embracing that and turning those challenges into opportunities.